My name is Beverly Bass. In 2001, I was flying a Boeing 777 as a captain for American Airlines. It was a beautiful day. We even commented when we were over the North Atlantic what a gorgeous day it was.
I'm Mike Franklin. I was the co-pilot on Flight 49 from Paris to Dallas-Fort Worth. As we're crossing the Atlantic, we have one of our radios on what is called airborne common.
Okay, say that again, please. It looks like we lost the primary target about 20 west of Kennedy, and we had.
So that would be a means by which aircraft can talk to one another to try to get updates on weather, winds, turbulence, what's happening.
Say that again, please. Fire.
It was over the common frequency.
Center.
We heard somebody chirp up that an airplane hit a tower in New York City.
Atlantic inbound aircraft, this is U.S. Air 27. We're receiving word from our dispatch that a plane has flown into the World Trade Center in New York City.
Okay, not necessarily alarming or anything at that moment in time.
You know, we talked about it and we thought, it must have been a small airplane. And then about 20 minutes later,
something came. Came across the radio again that another aircraft hit a tower, and it's my experience from the military that I can recognize a coordinated attack.
all of a sudden we start seeing some of the airplanes turning around, making a 180, which you would never see that because the North Atlantic tracks are directional, they're one way, and nobody turns around on them.
And so my first thought was, hey, Beverly, why don't we consider turning this thing around and taking people back from where they came from? She goes, that's not a bad idea. Why don't you see if you can begin that? As soon as I started to pick up the radio, we hear, we're common.
We tried coordinating a return to Europe with Shenwick Control, and they denied clearance.
They're not approving any reversals. And I sat up straight in my seat and began to process. I'm not really worried about what's behind me, like a hijacking type scenario. At that moment, I was truly focused on what my end game was, getting this aircraft and the people on the ground.
Understand that a couple days before 9/11, there was a big press hearing that took place, and the Pentagon couldn't account for $2 trillion. $2 trillion in spending, the Department of Defense. So 9/11 rolls around, the Twin Towers collapse, and in the Pentagon, another plane crashes, and the department with all the records, $2 trillion missing dollars, blows up. Weird. No accountability. But somebody has that money.
You won't believe this crazy discovery about 9/11. Everybody knows that on September 11th, 2001, the Twin Towers in New York City were struck by two airplanes and both towers collapsed to the ground. Thousands of people were killed and the damage was devastating. However, in 2010, workers excavating the crash site discovered something very strange. They discovered the remains of a 30-foot-long wooden boat that was buried underneath the 9/11 rubble. The question soon became, how did a shipwreck end up 22 feet beneath the World Trade Center? Scientists began to research and analyze the wood that was found from the ship. And in 2014, they were able to conclude that the ship was built around the 1770s. Around the same time as the Declaration of Independence. And it's believed that the ship was sailing through lower Manhattan where it sunk. And as New York City began to grow, the city of Manhattan expanded right over the top of the ship.
Boys and girls, sound this word out. Get ready. Seal. What word?
Seal.
Yes, seal. Read these words the fast way. Get ready.
Play.
Yes, play. Get ready.
Must.
Yes, must. Let's read these words the fast way without making a mistake. Get ready.
Kite.
Yes, kite. Get ready.
Kick.
Yes, kiss. 60 on page 153. At the count of 3, try it again. Get ready from the beginning of that sentence. Get ready.
She played with her goat in her house.
Go on.
She played with her goat in her yard.
Good job. Go on.
Mr. President, are you aware of the reports of the plane crash in New York? And is there anything...
Talk about it later.
Thank you all.
You can step out through where we came in. Cooperation between nations to deal with this.
They want to have confirmations, not an airline, that its flight is no Well, Jordan, you're not going to believe what state I was in when I heard about the terrorist attack. I was in Florida. And my chief of staff, Andy Card, well, actually, I was in a classroom talking about a reading program that works. And was sitting outside the classroom waiting to go in, and I saw an airplane hit the tower of a TV. You know, the TV was obviously on, and I used to fly myself, and I said, well, there's one terrible pilot. And it said it must have been a horrible accident.
Just a cigarette, and it cannot be that bad.
Conspiracy theory that 9/11 was an inside job suggests that the US government, or elements within it, either orchestrated or allowed the September 11, 2001 attacks to occur. These theories proposed that the official explanation, where 19 al-Qaeda terrorists hijacked planes and used them to target the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and an unknown target, is either incomplete or intentionally misleading. Here are some of the main claims associated with the inside job theory. 1. Controlled demolition of the Twin Towers claim. Some believe that the collapse of the Twin Towers, and particularly World Trade Center 7, was not solely due to the impact of the planes and resulting fires. Instead, they argue the towers fell as a result of a controlled demolition. This theory is based on the speed of the collapse and the way the buildings seemed to fall symmetrically into their own footprint. Counter, structural engineers and investigators argue that the intense heat from burning jet fuel weakened the steel frames, leading to the collapse. World Trade Center 7, which was not hit by a plane, collapsed later in the day due to fires ignited by the nearby destruction of the towers. 2. Pentagon attack claim. Some theorists question whether American Airlines Flight 77 hit the Pentagon at all, suggesting that the damage was caused by a missile or another type of explosive, not a commercial airplane. Counter, many witnesses saw the plane strike the Pentagon, and parts of the aircraft, including flight recorders and human remains, were recovered from the site. Security camera footage, though limited, also shows an object flying towards the building that matches the size of a commercial plane. 3. Motives, war and control claim. One of the most common theories is that the US government, particularly the neoconservative wing, allowed or staged the attacks to justify wars in the Middle East and to expand governmental control over citizens through laws like the USA Patriot Act. Counter, while the 9/11 attacks did lead to increased government surveillance and military interventions, no direct evidence has surfaced to support the claim that the US government orchestrated the event. Most analysts attribute the wars and domestic policies to post-9/11 political responses, not premeditated conspiracy. 4. Narade stand-down claim. Conspiracy theorists point to the slow response of Narade in intercepting the hijacked planes as evidence that the US military was ordered to stand down and not stop the attacks. Counter, investigations concluded that Narade was not equipped or prepared to handle multiple hijackings within US airspace simultaneously, and there was confusion about the nature and location of the hijacked planes. 5. Financial connections and foreknowledge claim. Some point to suspicious stock trades in the days before 9/11, claiming insider trading indicated that people knew the attacks were coming and sought to profit from them. The theory also points to Larry Silverstein, who leased the World Trade Center buildings shortly before the attacks and received a large insurance payout after they were destroyed. Counter, investigations into the stock trades found no clear evidence of foreknowledge or unusual financial activity linked to the attacks. Silverstein's insurance claim was deemed legitimate, given the massive destruction of property. 6. The New World Order claim. Some believe the attacks were part of a broader global agenda by elites, often referred to as the New World Order, aimed at increasing global control, restricting freedoms, and pushing towards authoritarian governance. Counter, this theory is rooted in distrust of government and global institutions, but there is no concrete evidence to suggest a coordinated global conspiracy behind the attacks. In conclusion, most conspiracy theories about 9/11 are based on misinterpretations of evidence, selective use of information, and skepticism of government transparency. The official 9/11 Commission report, published in 2004, provided a detailed account of the events leading up to, during, and after the attacks, addressing many of the concerns raised by conspiracy theorists. Nevertheless, these theories continue to resonate with people who question official narratives, particularly in the context of U.S. foreign policy and civil liberties post 9/11. The enduring appeal of these theories can be explained by psychological factors, such as the desire for a complex and powerful explanation for a tragic event, mistrust of government, and a sense of uncertainty in the face of national trauma.
From that theory, which is the official theory, to see a whole stack of floors piled up on top of each other and then a spindle of core columns standing too.
The core of each of the twin towers consisted of 47 massive steel columns. If the floors had broken loose from them, these columns would have still been sticking up into the air 1,000 feet.
The plane did not cut all those core columns.
We designed the buildings to take the impact of the Boeing 707 hitting the building at any location.
The building probably could sustain multiple impacts of jetliners.
That the plane flew straight into the building.
Through him, right.
So you're saying that the building was actually designed to cope with a hole like that and
Right.
still survive?
Yeah, it was.
If you had dropped, say, a billiard ball from the top of the World Trade Center, 110 floors up there, it would have taken 8 to 10 seconds to hit the ground, encountering no resistance whatsoever.
The Twin Towers came down in nearly free fall speed. 200,000 tons of steel shatters and explodes outwards over 500 feet.
This means that floors shattered at an average rate of about 10 floors per second.
There is no scenario for a pancake effect of buildings falling that allows them to fall at the rate of free fall.
Now, what can do that? What can move mass out of the way? Explosives. "47 huge steel columns going up the core. They're interconnected. How do you get them to fail simultaneously so the core disappeared? It looks like those core columns were cut.
The way we do this is by cutting the beam at an angle.
I started looking at the molten metal. All three buildings, both towers, in the rubble, in the basement areas, and Building 7, there's these pools of molten metal.
Get down below and you'd see molten steel running down the channel rails. Like you're in a foundry.
Yeah.
Like lava.
The molten steel was found 3, 4, and 5 weeks later when the rubble was being removed. He said that molten steel was also found underneath World Trade Center 7.
So I'm looking through the official reports. What do they say about the molten metal? They say nothing. Now, wait a minute. This is important evidence. So where'd that come from? Thermite is so hot that it'll just cut through steel, through structural steel, for example, like a knife through butter. The products
The shadows
are
of a world darkened not only by night, but also by deep-seated secrets. The story of 9/11 continues to haunt, echoing in the minds of the curious. That night, in a room filled with history books and conspiracy theories, a lone candle flickered beside an old wooden desk. John, a researcher into conspiracy theories, was immersed in a pile of documents, reports, and photographs. The ticking of an antique clock seemed to count each moment of truth being unveiled. With each page turned, a piece of the larger puzzle emerged, from obscure satellite images to mysterious, unsigned letters describing clandestine meetings and plans never made public. As John was deep in thought, a sudden cold breeze swept through the room, rattling the closed windows. From the darkness, a vague figure appeared in the old mirror, seemingly a man in dark attire with piercing cold eyes. John turned around startled, but there was only the empty wall behind him. Returning to his desk, John noticed an old letter that wasn't there before. The letter revealed a series of clues and signs about the hidden forces behind the 9/11 events, and an ominous prediction of what was to come. With each clue uncovered, John felt as if he was delving deeper into a maze of power and secrecy, where each step could lead him to unforeseen dangers. Unanswered questions, secrets never before revealed, all awaited John in his quest for truth. In the darkness of the night, John realized that he was not only seeking the truth behind a historical event, but was also confronting mystical forces, the ghosts of the past, that never allow the truth to be revealed. Will he find the answers? Or will he only sink deeper into the veiled mystery of the conspiracy?
9/11, the day before the attacks, Rumsfeld gave a press conference where he talked about trillions of dollars missing. The day. Then, a plane slams into the very part of the building where they were doing the accounting, blows up half the fucking building in the Pentagon, blows up a wall. Donald Rumsfeld was on, where was it, the White House lawn?
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
2.3. Okay, now, again, somebody told you that literally, like right before 9/11 happened, they said they couldn't track $2.3 trillion. No, that didn't happen. That did not happen, but it did happen.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so think about what Kennedy said. Think about what you saw when you saw that Vice movie, where Dick Cheney, who was the CEO of Halliburton, becomes a vice president and gets billions of dollars in no-bid contracts. Now think about what we just saw with Donald Rumsfeld saying they couldn't find $2.3 trillion. I don't know where it went. I don't know. It seems like we should have had it. So, like, we'll keep looking. Oh no, the spot where we looked just blew up.
Oh my god. What the
Find out
hell?
if that's true. If it was the accounting office, because this is what I love to say it because it sounds good. But let's make sure it's true that part blew up. But either way, that he did say that, and then they did get hit by a plane a couple of days later.
It's unbelievable.
It's so crazy, and no one talks about that $1 trillion.